At 6, we're bringing you the story of a local filmmaker who was in Ukraine last year working on a project. He left before Russia's invasion began and has since started a nonprofit to help those in need. All new at 6, Fox 12's Paulina Aguilar had the chance to speak with him about this experience. Paulina?
Brian Perkins was in Ukraine for a couple of weeks and came back in October just before the invasion. But just last week, he got word that a dear friend was killed. Brian is now working to honor his friend to help others that are still in Ukraine. Brian Perkins had spent time in Ukraine in 2014. In October 2021, Brian spent 2 weeks meeting with producers for his film Golden Kingdom, and his experience prior was a lot different.
At the time, I feel like no one had a sense of what was happening. There were rumblings at the time, but it really didn't start kicking up until December. Feeling in Kiev was just, I mean, it was amazing. The city had really grown and blossomed, and it felt really like a European capital that's gone for now, at least.
That same year, he met Alexandra Sasha Kuvshinova, a photographer at the time. Now, Sasha was working with Fox News team as a Ukrainian journalist, and Brian had been in contact with Sasha over the past few days.
But what she really wanted to do was just to show the truth of what was happening there. That was what her passion was. She wanted people to understand the atrocities that were happening in Kiev and how it was destroying these people's homes.
But just last week, he found out Sasha and a news cameraman was killed in their vehicle by Russian artillery near Kyiv, and Brian was left with one last text message.
And she said, no, they're not sending anybody in that direction because 2 journalists were shot there today. No one can go there. And so then I thought, okay, well, at least she's going to be safe because she had been going there to help evacuate people. And then I didn't hear from her for a couple days. And then I just saw in the news.
Sasha was just 25 years old, and now Brian will honor her by directly working with refugees of Ukraine with his nonprofit, One Act Aid.
The idea behind One Act is that reaching out your hand even to one is an act of love for all. Our idea is just to really work one-on-one with people and families who are affected by this on a case-by-case basis, providing aid when it needs to happen.
Donations will go farther than just water and food. Brian recently helped 7-year-old Paulia and her family get to Paris.
We've helped sort out an apartment for them, and Paulia's starting school now. Even just a small thing, we helped get her a backpack because she didn't have a backpack to go to school. And also the money is going to people that are cooking food for the internal refugees in Ukraine. People I know who are just literally going to the pharmacies, buying medicine that's ordered by these doctors in the hospitals because they can't get normal medicine delivery. What's important is to use her as a symbol of what we can do moving forward, to use her as a symbol of courage and selfless service. And I'm sure she was afraid, but she was also very courageous and she knew what needed to be done. I hope to carry that spirit with me in the work we're doing with One Act.
Fox 12 first spoke with Brian nearly 2 weeks ago about setting up this interview. And at that time, he says he spoke with Sasha about joining him to talk about her experience. She agreed and would have been part of this report. Brian will be heading back to Europe next week to help refugees. And if you would like to help donate to his effort, we will have a link in the online version of the story at kptv.com. Reporting in studio, Paulina Aguilar, Fox 12 Oregon.